The Australian A-League is a lot of things, but one of the things that I would use to describe it is outright batshit insane. And what happened over the past weekend is just another pure example of why this league is probably one of the funniest social experiments I've ever seen in my life. Hello, guys, it's me, Alex, on the Backfourpod podcast, and today we are going to be discussing why one of the A-League's most prolific players in the past decade or so has just quit the A-Leagues because of refereeing decisions. Now, to provide a bit of context for the situation, we're going to have to go back all the way to the 2023-24 season when Macarthur had one of the strongest squads in the league, featuring some of the best players, including Yuli Davila, Kieran Backus, and Clayton Lewis, before they were hit with a massive gambling scandal that shocked the A-Leagues and rocked Macarthur to their core. But they still had one shining light in this team, and that was their new star man up front, Valere Germain. Now, many of you might remember Germain from his times in the French top leagues, playing for Monaco, coming through their academy, as well as spells at Marseille and Nice, but he eventually moved to Macarthur at the start of the 2023-24 season and became probably the best player in the club's history. He featured 57 times for the clubs in total, scoring 27 goals and getting 13 assists, making him one of the most prolific strikers in A-League history and undoubtedly one of the greatest foreign imports we've ever had. And off the back of a historic Australian Cup win at the start of the season, Macarthur had their first piece of silverware and started the A-League brightly with a 6-1 win over Perth Glory to kickstart a very promising A-League campaign where they were going to be once again pushing for their first ever A-League championship. This in with plenty of young talent such as Jed Drew, Jake Holman, Keely Adamson. They were really looking to have a really good season, Macarthur, but in the recent weeks, it has all come downhill thanks to the actions of one man. On February the 9th, Macarthur faced off against Western United. Now, while this was a 2-2 draw and considerably a tight game, Western really should have won this, dominating the game in terms of chances created in XG, but ultimately it did end as a draw. However, something absolutely insane happened towards the end of the match, in which Valere Germain looked over at the linesman at the side of the pitch and proceeded to make a lewd gesture and said something, obviously, to offend them. Now, this wasn't immediately sanctioned on the pitch. However, an investigation was conducted after the match in which Valere Germain was suspended and was made to meet with the APL afterwards to discuss the length of suspension and the punishment for this action. Now, while I believe it is very wrong and you can't do this, what happened after is probably one of the craziest responses I've ever seen to a player outright doing just the dumbest shit and just refusing to take any acceptance or any sort of responsibility for it whatsoever. Now, this past Sunday on Feb 16th, Western Sydney Wanderers faced off Macarthur in Western Sydney, and now this was a very tight game, probably one of my favourite recent A-League games, very, very tightly heated contest, and Macarthur controversially didn't get a number of decisions going their way, which prompted Valere Germain to go onto Instagram, onto his story, and post the following comment: "What a shame, the referees," with 3 laughing emojis. Now, obviously, this isn't good considering that he is supposed to be meeting with a disciplinary committee to discuss the fact that he was, accused of making lewd gestures towards and verbally abusing referees. So obviously, you can't be doing this kind of stuff. But this is just the tip of the iceberg as to how crazy this situation got. Because shortly after this incident involving Valere Germain on Instagram, George Clark from Perth Now would release an article saying that refereeing standards were making Valere Germain quit the A-League. And I'll be honest, when this headline dropped, I thought it was a joke at first, but then I actually looked at the reactions and read a bit more into it and realized, holy shit, this is actually happening. Now, first of all, I was laughing because obviously any excuse to see Macarthur be in the mud is a good excuse. But secondly, I don't think I've ever seen this before in my life, as to when a player has quit a professional league while their team is making a push for a finals position because they are unhappy with the standard of refereeing in the country. Keep in mind, this is only made worse when considering the fact that Valere Germain is Macarthur's captain. This is their captain. flat out rage quitting the A-League because he's unhappy with the fact that Australian refs just downright suck. And look, as a former referee myself, I don't completely disagree. I think the standard and quality of refereeing in Australia is absolutely and utterly dog shit. And it sucks all across Central Asia. And you can see it in the Asian Cup, and you can see it in pretty much every Asian competition that Australia participates in, but you can see it in the A-League. It is absolutely dog shit. And look, while I don't entirely disagree with what he's saying, I feel the fact that you are a club's captain means that you should at least be respectful enough to stick out the season with your current club, especially after the transfer window for the A-League has just ended, meaning that Macarthur are now hamstrung. They either have to stick with Harrison Sawyer as their striker, who, let's be honest, is an MPL quality striker, or they have to find a free agent. But they are absolutely cooked right now because they don't have a ready-made option to bring in from their academy, and they're outside of the transfer window, meaning their options are limited for who they can even bring in. Now, as more of the situation unfolded, it became a bit more controversial. Now, the only reason that people are even doubting that this is a legitimate excuse from Valere Germain is because it's also being reported that he received a lucrative offer from a Japanese club after the closing of the A-League transfer window. Now, this is a bit of weird timing, especially because if Valere Germain were to leave, I would have expected him to do it at an earlier time, or would have at least just stuck it out till the end of the season. Now, he claims that the reason that he was pissed off at these refs to begin with is because they weren't doing a good enough job at protecting him physically from, tackles and challenges and stuff like that, which is fair enough. The A-League is a tough physical league. But this is really weird timing, especially considering that the A-League transfer window is closed. As the club captain, I really think that this is just not good timing for Macarthur. And surely, as a club, if you had a player that was previously expressing discomfort and dissatisfaction and wanting to leave the club, especially when they're on marquee wages, you wouldn't keep them around. So either this is just dogshit professionalism from Valere Germain, or this is just really, really, really poor from Macarthur. Keep in mind, this is already after they lost Jed Drew, Oliver Jones, and Ariath Piol all to overseas moves. Their club is skint right now. They have lost a lot of players off of transfers, and now they've just lost their club captain and probably the most prolific player in their history because of supposed refereeing standards in the A-League, which is absolutely batshit insane. And look, I'm not a Macarthur fan at all. I quite frankly despise the club, but this is just crazy. Honestly, this is the shit that makes me love this league so much. And it's just peak. It is just so incredibly peak. I can't believe it, man. But I do think it's important that a further question is asked as to where do we actually go from here in terms of refereeing in Australia. Now, like I said, refereeing standards in Australia are considerably poor, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. Firstly, I think it's because too many refs are genuinely afraid of conflict. Now, this is a weird thing, but I've said it before on numerous occasions, on my Twitter or elsewhere. I do feel that modern day referees are way too coddled and protected. Like, for God's sake, clubs can get fines and players can get suspensions for questioning a referee decision or, crowding around a referee. Bro, grow up. Like, come on. Like, this shit is ridiculous. And I understand that you guys will be like, oh, well, they're professional referees, so they don't want to deal with this disrespect. I was a referee for at least 5 to 6 years. I was 14-year-old refereeing men's games because we had a refereeing shortage in WA. So I don't need people coming at me and telling me that referees have it tough. I know they have it tough. It's part of the job. When you sign up with the knowledge that you are probably going to get screamed at, that not everyone will accept your decision, and that in some cases you are going to have to face conflict. And that needs to be part of the job. That needs to be a responsibility that people are willing to take on. And look, in this situation, Valere Germain is completely in the wrong. You can't grab your nuts and gesture towards a linesman because he made a call that you disagreed with. That's just not on, right? And in this situation, he has handled everything poorly, and it's absolutely disgraceful. However, he does make a good point that refereeing standards in the league are really bad. And we're seeing this on numerous occasions where some refs will make calls and other refs won't. And look, A large portion of this is down to the fact that the laws of the game are open to so much interpretation in their actual ruling, and that's not going to be fixed. Because if you have a direct sort of line that you have every decision based on, if you have an exact sort of measurement that every decision has to be based on, then you might as well not have referees and let's just replace it with AI like we're doing with the automatic offsides. What I'm trying to get at is there needs to be a serious overlook as to how we're bringing up young referees and how we're sort of monitoring the standards of these adult referees, because too much of the refereeing in this country is controlled by massive egos from these referees and referees that aren't willing to accept or face any sort of conflict. I know there's probably going to be a few people to jump to the comments or even just have your own thoughts at home as to, oh, but Alex, you're wrong. Remember the Alex King situation? That situation was just stupid. He got assaulted by, fans and stuff like that when they stormed the pitch at the Melbourne Derby. I can simultaneously say that was fucked up and what Germain did was fucked up, while also saying that the quality of refereeing in this country and across the entire continent of Asia is absolutely abysmal. It is disgracefully bad. It is so far behind the European standard, which is why I'm not surprised by the fact that Australian referees barely ever get called over to go to Europe, apart from Jared Gillett and maybe, a couple of others going outside of Australia or Asia. But this is a problem that needs to be addressed in terms of refereeing. And look, in terms of the Valere Germain situation, my final note is he's an idiot. He did a stupid thing. He probably did this as an excuse because he wants to go to Japan and earn a shit ton more money. But I feel bad for Macarthur because they're now screwed without their club captain and their star striker. And he's probably screwed over their whole finals push. So screw Valere Germain, and God damn it, I love this league. I love this league so much. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you all for your continuous support, and leave in the comments below your thoughts on the situation. Is Germain a massive prick who's just left Macarthur at the worst possible time to earn more money, or does he have a valid point about refereeing in this league? To be honest, I think it's a bit of a mix of both. But like I said, leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll make sure I do get back to you. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Catch you later.